Photographing various parts of Richmond to try to transform it back to the way it was in 1976. So they're obviously incredibly talented artists who did a lot of the work on this film and who are working on my next film. So that's kind of what I've been doing here the past few days. I'm sure there's plenty to talk about after having viewed this motion picture. I don't know if anyone has any particular questions that they wanted to ask, or if they just want to throw something at me, or you down there in the middle?
I wanted to ask about the sequence. Did you intend to use the animatic, or did that just kind of fall into place?
The Doomsday Scenario interface. That definitely evolved as we were. When I showed the rough version of this movie at the Cannes Film Festival, we didn't have that yet because I hadn't finished the graphic novels, and much to my own torment, I realized that these graphic novels and the film I couldn't separate the two. It was one big 6-chapter story for me, and so I realized that there was a lot of essential information in the graphic novels that we wanted to do the prologue as a way of bringing the audience up to speed about some of the essential information from the first 3 chapters. So it became that, and among many other things, were added after the initial kind of rough cut screening that kind of helped tie everything together. So if you read the graphic novels, it's like a whole lot more information, but it's the essential stuff at the beginning. Really like the friendly fire incident in Iraq between Taverner and our narrator pilot Abilene, and then the kidnapping of Boxer Santeros, the state of the world, the sort of the neocon contingency and the neo-Marxist contingency, the extreme left and the extreme right, and just where the world stands politically in terms of World War III and America's position in going into 2008. So it was definitely a means to kind of tie the movie together, because the opening reel was the toughest to crack editorially, given the incredibly large volume of information that we needed to communicate. So, yeah. You there?
When you wrote them, did you when you wrote like Donnie Darko or Southland Tales, there's a bunch of sort of threads that sort of link the two. I think. Did you plan on that?
You mean threads that link Donnie Darko to Southland Tales?
Yeah.
Oh well, I don't know if the movies are connected really in any way other than just maybe stylistically or in my imagination. Maybe they're kind of from the same demented universe, you know, and they share some of the same actors, obviously, and they both kind of tie into some greater science fiction concepts, whether it's time travel or different dimensions, or Sean ends up with a bloody eye at the end. Maybe there's a thing about eyes, and maybe someone shot my eye out when I was a kid or something. So yeah, there definitely are links, I guess, but I wouldn't say that they are essential. Maybe they're essential in a way that I don't even maybe understand yet. Maybe when I'm older, some therapist can figure it out for me.
Weren't you forced to cut some time from the film?
Yeah, there's you'll see at one of the last shots at the fire arcade when all the soldiers are celebrating the big tidal wave that's getting ready to knock them out, and pilots celebrating the fact that the world is going to end, and you see Janine Garofalo. I don't know if you noticed her. Yeah. She's there dancing. She plays a character named General Tina MacArthur, who is an Army general who's there stationed at a big facility there at the pier. They're maintaining the big particle acceleration or alternative fuel device, the Fluid Karma machine out in the ocean. She's monitoring the machine for the military at the base, and she's sort of like the den mother to all the soldiers, and she's realizing that the machine is going haywire, and it's a whole subplot with her and kind of a doomsday game that she's playing with Kevin Smith and trying to figure out what's really going on, and that was sort of when you have a long movie that everyone is feeling is not maybe very commercial, and it might not make its money back, the mandate to cut the running time down becomes very aggressive, and that was one of the subplots that ultimately had to be dropped from the film in this version. I think it was deemed to be a bit esoteric and really sci-fi, really geeky kind of stuff. I love it, and others love it, but I think eventually, at some point, if there's a director's cut of the film or a longer cut of the film, that her subplot will be restored. There's a lot more stuff with Kevin Smith and General Simon Theory. If you read the graphic novels, those characters are a lot, obviously their backstory is fleshed out, and kind of the metaphysics of what's happening. And there's a lot happening in this film. It takes a while to digest it all, but so yeah, how are you?
All the Saturday Night Live alumni, how did that come about? Being
well, the Saturday Night Live, it's interesting that so many cast members from Saturday Night Live ended up in this movie, and I think it had to do with the fact that this is, we're making a black comedy that opens with nuclear bombs going off in Texas, which we shot at my aunt's house, and so it's obviously like, what if this happened to me? Like, what if this happened, to my family? So it's sort of like staring your worst nightmare in the face and then trying to say, okay, none of this is real. It's a big doomsday scenario interface, and let's make it as fun as possible. Let's sort of try to take the worst, most troubling subject matter imaginable and try to make it as entertaining and fun as possible, because it is just a movie. And for whatever reason, I just tried to find some of the funniest people that I knew of. And whether it's a comedy troupe called the Mechanicals that I put in the film, because a lot of the kind of unknown faces are from this comedy troupe that I worked with and befriended in LA. And then, people like Amy Poehler and John Lovitz and Sherry O'Terry and Janine.
So you went to them?
It ended up, Saturday Night Live is just a great place for some of the funniest people. You see even a resurgence now of SNL with what they're doing with a lot of the attention they've got for their election coverage and the parodies of Clinton and Obama and all the candidates. And so I don't know, there's something about SNL that it became a great casting pool. It wasn't like, I'm going to make an SNL movie. It just happened to be that's where a lot of the talent comes from. And I think there's an edginess to some of the best sketch comedy that comes out of SNL that I just had hoped that the movie could be fun, like a great Saturday Night Live sketch. But it's 2.5 hours long, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, when you're writing a screenplay, I really like your choice of music in your films, and I was wondering, when you have like songs like mapped out for certain scenes, or is it like later production you choose?
With the first two films, I was very aggressive about choosing pop music beforehand. Like the Killers sequence was obviously planned out. We didn't have the money for the song, but we just shot it anyway and said, we hope, we can get it. And luckily, we did. Like the Pixies, Wave of Mutilation, that was obviously planned, and the Memory Gospel, all the Moby stuff. Moby recorded a lot of the score before when we were about to start shooting the movie, he handed me a disc and said, hey, I did this in a few weeks. Is this what you're looking for? And I'm like, yeah, dude, this is incredible. He was brought on board very early. So for this movie, a lot of music was decided beforehand. We worked with Rebecca Del Rio to record the national anthem. She wanted to do the first few lines in Spanish, and we worked with a section quartet and recorded that whole song beforehand. And so yeah, it's very, but on this newest